I was seen as one of the guys, but then not seen at all. Pax was now in a far-off daze. She then caught him off guard. How did you become a psychopath? I hear they are rarely just born. What pushed you over the edge? Joker looked at his glasses. He turned it as he was now in a daze. Girls. Pax snickered. I get it. I can let you in my head, but not yours. Joker smiled without looking at her. You got it, nerd. Pax shoved away from the table and tilted her head. Dinner was a real damn treat. Joker threw down his napkin and smiled a fake smile. My pleasure. He could hear her yell as she went upstairs. Good night, Jay. He silently smirked with amusement. Good night, Pax. Chapter 7. Oswald stood patiently with his hands tucked behind his back. He smiled as Pax opened the door. Well, hello, Pax. Pax was truly happy to see him. Oswald, please do come in. Oswald strolled in and turned back to her. I'm sorry, Mr. J's not here. He had to leave. Something about Harley. Meltdown. Oswald glanced at her unrecognizable figure. Have I caught you at a bad time? No. Why? Oswald was amused at her innocence. You look totally different than what I remembered. Pax frowned as she looked down at herself. What's wrong? Do I look? Oswald interrupted. Amazing. Pax rolled her eyes as she walked away. Don't tease me. Why would I tease you? Oswald was sincere with his concern. Pax shook her head. Guys don't look at me like that. They never did. Oswald was leaning as he studied her backside as she opened the fridge for a drink. Well, did you look or dress like that? Pax looked down again and shook her head. These are just workout clothes. Yes, very revealing workout clothes. Oswald was in a daze at her chest until Pax snapped her fingers. Pax shrugged her shoulders. So what's your point? Oswald slid to her side of the counter and leaned his back against it next to her. You called me to help you prepare for the board, right? Pax nodded. If you want to get through to them and make them listen to you. Oswald sighed. Use all of your assets. Pax turned her head straight forward as she thought for a moment. You have a point. If need be, my assets could buy me more time if I needed it. Oswald nudged her. That a girl. Pax turned a friendly smile to him and peeked him on the cheek. Thank you. He patted her hand. My pleasure. Joker had been gone for 3 days as he tried to keep Harley docile enough for Pax to have time to crack the first system. He tapped his fingers lazily as he waited for Pax to arrive with her results. It was 5 minutes before the meeting was about to start when the men turned to the door and stared as Pax walked in with her material. I'm sorry, but am I in the right place? Oswald anxiously bit his nail as he bounced his leg with excitement as his creation blew everyone away. Joker couldn't help but stare. He growled as he turned to Oswald and whispered, Was this your fucking plan? Oswald kept his eyes on Pax as he smirked to her. Yep. Chapter 8. Joker stalked Pax's prey with his eyes as she passed out her presentation. Dr. Jonathan Crane, Harvey Dent, now Two-Face, and Oswald was among the criminal board. The other faces, Pax did not recognize. Gentlemen, may I please get you to turn page 2 in your manual? Joker watched as Pax took over the meeting. She looked totally different. Her figure was perfect. Her makeup, stunning, and her hair was twisted up neatly showing her long neckline. Oswald cut his eyes sideways as he watched Joker shift in his seat. He leaned close and whispered, Yeah, okay there, Sparky. Fuck off. Joker scoffed. Pax cleared her throat for their attention. As you can see, I am about to run a test. Gentlemen, if you would do kindly place your phones on the table with the ringer turned on. Pax watched as all of the men complied. She smiled as she walked over to her iPad. You are about to receive an alarming but fixable problem. Right now. All the men looked to their phones as they all chimed at the same time. Pax stood with her arms crossed as the men tried to stop the beeping, but none of them would turn off. One of the unknown men raised his voice. What the hell did you do? Pax calmly walked around. Calm down. Earlier this week you all received an email from one another about the meeting. Is this correct? All the men nodded as they spoke to one another. They grew quiet as she continued. Gentlemen, I easily hijacked your phone with the email I sent to you. Another man stood up. You didn't send me one. Harvey did. The men continued to fuss. Pax cleared her throat again. I disguised it as Harvey's. With his permission, of course, to prove my point. The same man spoke up again. Yeah, but how did you get someone in the GCPD to give up their email? Pax smirked. I can be very convincing sometimes, Hector. Hector adjusted his necktie as he sat back down. Joker noticed Harvey has smirked at Hector's reaction. He didn't like her answer. What the hell did she mean convincing, and when did she contact Harvey to help her? It must have been when he was with Harley. He growled at the thought of her keeping him away from his work. He snapped out of his anger as Pax finished her presentation. I am now sending you another email that will quickly cycle out the virus's coding. You may look at my iPad for reassurance that your history has been deleted. Pax lifted her iPad as the board passed it around. She then walked over to the screen projector and eased it down with a push of a button. Now, as I would like to call this segment. She wiggled her eyebrows. Shits and giggles. The men looked to one another with question as Oswald turned off the light. Up on the screen a film started with the title page. GCPD's finest. The whole room started to roll with laughter as the screen showed the police department's most embarrassing footage. There was one scene when a cop was in the locker room in his underwear twirling his gun as he pretended to be a gunslinger. The man screamed out as he shot himself in his thigh. Another video was a body examiner dancing with a corpse. The video went in for another 10 minutes. The last one was a police dash cam of a thug hijacking a patrol car. You can see the officer running after it in the background. Hector slapped his leg as he laughed. That guy works for me. Oh shit. As Pax turned around from turning back on the lights, she was surprised as the whole board stood and clapped with approval. Pax didn't know what to do, or say. She just gently nodded and waved her hand as she took a seat beside Harvey. Joker watched as he whispered something in her ear to make her laugh. He quickly stood and hit the gavel. Meeting adjourned. Pax smiled as all board members came by and introduced themselves and shook her hand. Joker was the last one, but he stood with a blank face and hands in his pockets. Time to go. Pax's smile faded as she brushed her bangs from her eyes. Yes sir. She had the look of confusion and hurt on her young face as she packed up. Chapter 9. Joker was outside the boardroom as he waited for her. She quickly walked past him as she tried to stay in front of him, but this was difficult to do in platforms. Slow the hell down. You're gonna fall walking so fast. He firmly grasped Pax's arm and pulled her around to face him, but he had pulled too hard and she hit his broad chest with a thud. All she could do was look down, being so close to him. Ouch. Joker tipped her head up. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Pax turned her face to the side to free her chin from his fingertips. She could see in the corner of her eye he was smiling. I got a present waiting for you at home. Pax wrinkled her brow as she looked back to his handsome face. Pax squealed with delight as their SUV pulled up to the house. She jumped from her seat as Frost opened the door. She wrapped her arms around his neck and gave him a deep kiss on the cheek. Joker was walking around to greet him when